You won't believe what really happened to the quietest man in Queen. He never sought the spotlight. He never shouted for attention. And when the world was screaming Queen's name, John Deacon simply slipped away. No farewell tour. No dramatic statement. Just silence. But why would someone at the height of global fame, a man who helped shape one of the greatest rock bands in history, walk away and never look back? The answer goes deeper than fame or fortune. It's about friendship, grief, and the kind of loss that changes you forever. And after decades of quiet, John's story is finally coming to light. Let's go back to the start, before the fame, before the music. John Richard Deacon was born on August 19, 1951, in Leicester, England. He was quiet, studious, and curious about how things worked. Not just music but machines. As a kid, he'd spend hours tinkering with gadgets. He once rewired a tape recorder just to capture songs from the radio. He wasn't your typical rock star in the making. He was thoughtful, smart, and deeply private. Music came into his life through soul records and radio. At 14, he joined a school band called The Opposition, first as a guitarist. But when their bassist got booted for not improving, John stepped in. He never stepped back. By 1969, John was headed to Chelsea College in London to study electrical engineering. He took his studies seriously, so seriously that he left his bass behind, thinking his music days were done. But then something happened that would change everything. In September that year, he went to see Deep Purple perform with an orchestra at the Royal Albert Hall. That concert reawakened something in him. Music pulled him back in, gently but firmly. Meanwhile, three ambitious musicians, Freddie Mercury, Brian May, and Roger Taylor, were forming a new band. They called it Queen. But they were still missing one thing: a bassist. John saw Queen perform in October 1970. He wasn't instantly blown away. But when he met Roger and Brian at a London disco a few months later, something clicked. They liked his calm energy. He liked their ambition. And in early 1971, John auditioned. He was hired on the spot. Queen was complete. At just 19, John played his first gig with the band in June of that year. And from the beginning, he brought more than just music. He brought balance. While Freddie electrified the crowd, John held everything steady. He was smart, grounded, and, most importantly, he understood how to make things work behind the scenes. He fixed equipment, built amps, and even invented gear that gave Queen their unique sound. The band once credited him as Deacon John on their debut album, just to make him sound cooler. He didn't like it. "Use my real name," he said. That's the kind of guy he was. No flash, no ego, just truth. And when it came to songwriting, he delivered hit after hit. From the funky, bass-driven Another One Bites the Dust to the heartfelt You're My Best Friend, which he wrote for his wife Veronica, John had a way of crafting songs that were both catchy and deeply personal. And I Want to Break Free? That was all him too. But John wasn't just playing bass and writing songs. He was also experimenting. On the 1982 album Hot Space, he brought in soul, funk, and disco vibes, drawing from the music he loved growing up. Sometimes this caused tension. On the song Back Chat, John didn't want Brian May's guitar solos. He thought they clashed with the sound he was building. That disagreement got heated. The album itself didn't do well, but it showed how deeply John cared about his creative vision. By then, Queen had become one of the biggest bands in the world. But behind the scenes, something quieter was happening, a bond between John and Freddie. On stage, they couldn't have been more different. Freddie was loud, flamboyant, and fearless. John was introverted, reserved, almost invisible in comparison. But offstage they connected. Freddie once said, "He's quiet, but don't underestimate him. He's got a fire in him." Peter Freestone, Freddie's assistant, once shared that Freddie looked out for John. He took him under his wing, he said. He was the new guy. Freddie wanted to protect him. Over time they became their own team inside the band. Touring together. Spending time together. Trusting each other. And then, in 1991, everything changed. Freddie Mercury passed away from complications due to AIDS. The world was shocked. But for John, it wasn't just the loss of a bandmate. It was the loss of a brother. At Freddie's funeral, only 35 people were invited.